went to college for a year shortly after 90210, and I came back from Colorado and I met Eazy-E and Bone Thugs.
And we would just kind of sit on the outside and we were like, wow. And then he'd like put beats together and I'd be like, oh my God, I want to rap on that for whatever I could possibly do over this beat.
Yeah.
Cut to, I'm watching the Grammys.
Wow.
Oh, I was watching this too.
I'm watching the Grammys and Pink wins multiple Grammys. And up on stage with her is a long dreaded Damon Elliott.
I had a major health scare. At 42 years old, I had a myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack, and it's the widowmaker. That's what they call it. The one where most people.
That's the one that usually
takes you out.
Done.
Right.
But wait, tell the story because that is important. But you have to tell the part about getting to the hospital. I hope everyone listening can hear that and take that away. That your circumstance and where you're at right now does not have to dictate what your future is.
I'm sitting in the kitchen, and it was one of those moments where nobody was there. Randy was upstairs. Tori was in like the doll room or whatever. Like nobody was there, and Mr. came to me and he said, listen, he said, your real dad's gone. He said, he's passed on. He said, but I want you to know something. You will always have a father.
Oldish, the show where age-old questions meet new-age answers. With your hosts, Randy Spelling, Brian Austin Green, and Sharna Burgess.
Damon Elliott, welcome to Oldish, my friend.
Thank you, man. I'm laughing because this is crazy.
Dude, this is crazy.
Crazy to have
I got to surprise him today.
Yeah.
This is a mystery guest.
Yeah. So Randy had no idea that Damon was coming. I've known Damon forever. For people that don't remember, Damon was on 90210. We had a group at the time. He ended up coming in and doing an episode, but Damon's relationship with Randy and Tori goes fucking way back.
Yes.
Like you guys.
It goes back to the crib with Tori.
To the crib? Wow.
Literally,
right.
To literally twin strollers.
Yeah, was it? So now the story is your nanny and her nanny.
Best friends.
Were good friends.
Best friends.
They met each other on a walk? Is that what happened?
Well, I don't. You see, I think so. They might have met on a walk in Beverly Hills or in the Bel Air area. But all I know is that literally I grew up literally, no joke, like twin strollers. And the funny thing is, I grew up in Beverly Hills, so we don't see color.
Right.
And
right.
So Tori was my little sister, like literally.
That's
and
so
then
crazy.
when this one came around and was, the younger brother, obviously. I was there when he was born. I was obviously really young, but
wow.
So I've known little Randall Gene Pelling since he was real
little.
I'd be like, Damon.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, he wanted to hang out with us. And
so for people that don't know, which I sure is not many, your mom is Dionne Warwick.
Right.
Your older brother is David.
Right.
David Elliott.
David Elliott.
Who produced...
who wrote Here and Now.
Here and Now.
And
he's doing all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I mean... You list some of your credits.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you've done.
So here's the crazy thing about Damon's credits, and I was going to get into this earlier, and then I was like, no, let's save this for when we're going. When Damon and I were first hanging out, David was the producer. He had a studio set up like a circle. I remember it was a whole thing. He had kind of the guest house sort of thing on the side, and he had this like a circle of studio equipment, so he'd stand in the middle and he had like keyboards and stuff all around him.
Wow.
And we would just kind of sit on the outside and we were like, wow. And then he'd like put beats together and I'd be like, oh my God, I want to rap on that for whatever I could possibly do over this beat. Cut to, I'm watching the Grammys.
Wow.
Oh, I was watching this too.
I'm watching the Grammys and Pink wins multiple Grammys, and up on stage with her is a long dreaded Damon Elliott.
I think if I remember this correctly, Pink jumped on your back.
Yes.
And Damon walked her up to the stage.
That was the MTV Awards.
Was it the MTV Awards?
Mm-hmm.
So you were responsible for a majority of her first album, right? I mean, you were kind of overseeing the second album. Second album.
The Misunderstood album.
Yeah.
And what a ride it was. I met Pink on set of Moulin Rouge because I worked on that record with Maya. I did her vocals and stuff like that, and then we hit it off immediately.
How did you? Well, let's take it back. How did you even get? I'm assuming you got into music because of David and because of your mom. But I mean, how? At what point did that switch happen? Because that switch wasn't like. I didn't see that in you when we were younger. I didn't get a sense of...
We were listening to Fushnikins and all of our stuff we were doing, and we were rapping
But we always had that thing of like, oh, we're artists and all that. You never seemed to have an appetite for like, I want to get in and do what my older brother's doing. Yeah. Even though it was so strong in the family. I mean, your mom
I kind of did. I think I was, at that point in my life, still trying to find my way, right? Like, wanted to be an actor until I saw how difficult it was.
Right.
And how much time it took just sitting. If you remember, I'd come to the set with you every day. For 2 years or 3 years. Yeah. And I would just hang out, but I could come and go, right? And you'd be stuck there all day, right? So that was like a check off, and I kind of had an in because literally, Pops, as we call them, raised me. We'll get into that. And that's why this is like literally my little brother. But after, going through that, then I was like, okay, I'm going to try the music thing. And we did the Common Ground thing, and that was fun. But then I was like, I don't know, maybe the production side is more for me. And I got into it, and I got really lucky because right after I went to college for a year, shortly after 90210, and I came back from Colorado, and I met Eazy-E and Bone Thugs, and that was literally the beginning of.
Oh, that's right. You did a lot with Bone Thugs and Harmony, right?
That was the beginning.
So did you study music in school? Because
I failed music in college.
You weren't playing like instruments or a lot of stuff when I was around. That's why I was so shocked to see you on stage because we hadn't spoken in a while, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, how do you just become an award-winning...
Blew the fuck up, and now Pink is like, riding your back up on stage.
Well, she became, what's funny, she became like my little sister, and as I don't know if you even knew, but I always was into martial arts.
I did.
That was my main thing, and when I moved to Arizona, I opened a dojo, and I was teaching Kempo, and so I kind of became like that big brother, big shoulders, big brother figure to all of the younger females, the Mayas, the Pinks, the Beyoncés. And so it was kind of a natural progression. And growing up in music and growing up around the greats like Quincy Jones being a mentor, the late Burt Bacharach, and how David, growing up around the great producers, some of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
I was just watching, and I'd say, oh, so
interesting. That's how that's done.
Like being a director. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily having to play.
You're learning the tricks, though. You're seeing the tricks that people are using, and you're figuring out how to implement them. And you start in your own mind going, I can't wait till I run a session because I want to use that trick, but I also want to use, like, you start finding your own ingredients.
Yeah, you find your way. And you utilize the tricks, and then you have some of the greatest. I mean, I was so blessed, B, because I had some of the greatest musicians. Like, I could just tell, Greco, who was one of the best guitar players, hey, man, play this riff. And I'm a beatboxing, using my mouth type of producer. So, because I don't read music. So everything it would just come to me.
Right.
So like these songs, they would come to me, and then I would say, oh, I need some great strings. So I call, Charlie, one of the best string arrangers. And so I utilized, like you said, the tools.
Right. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, and it worked out.
God, did it ever work out? I mean, how long has your career now been in music?
My God.
You have been...
Well, I'm 51, proudly.
Same.
So
I'm 51 as well.
Loving it.
I turned 51 July 15th.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Same to you. When was your... Wait,
March 21st.
March.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You have I remember you have a birthday really similar to my oldest son, Cassius. His birthday is March 15th.
Yeah. Yep. And so, I just literally wow, how many years has it been? 30, 35 years, something like that. It's been a long time.
I met Linda Perry at the studio once. Yes. So I hadn't seen Damon in forever, and we ran into each other somewhere. And Damon was like, "Oh, I'm in North Hollywood, or so at a studio. Oh, come on by." So I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And I came by, and he had been working with Linda on a bunch of things. You guys were kind of like partners for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember sitting in the studio thinking, like, this is wild.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the lead singer and writer from Four Non Blondes,
right?
who Damon would like make fun of and joke with, and like it. And she was fantastic. She was so kind. But it's always like I grew up in music. I was in doing my album and my stuff, but like Damon and I, we had a common love for hip hop, but we didn't. Our paths didn't cross again at the point when we were more professionally in music. Honestly, until now. Until this conversation.
It's kind of crazy.
Because now we're talking about like past tense, like, hey, how did it start? And you've been doing this for how long? And
we're old.
35 years. We're old. I've been doing this for 35 years. Like, I've been in SAG long. I've been in SAG longer than Sharna's been alive.
Wow.
Which is, it's strange.
Yeah. Just to be able to say that when people say, it's funny when people go, "Oh, you're an OG." It's like, what? Right. I remember I used to say that to like, Easy and those
to an OGs.
To the OGs. Right now we're like, I'm like, wow, I got some great. Dude. Like, okay.
Now you're at that place.
And watching how things have changed so much with music and just, I love it. I take it all in.
It's so amazing. Like as soon as things have crossed over into computer, it's like the ability of people to kind of use the old stuff that they really loved, but then mix it with this new stuff and create. The door is wide open creatively. I mean, people are just soaring with these crazy ideas and things they're doing. And who would have thought that DJs would now be headlining shows and they'd be doing residencies in Vegas, and they,
stars. Yeah, the rock.
Zed would be making, hundreds of millions of dollars just like making his own songs and then mixing things and keeping a crowd alive. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I remember being a teenager. And we have to go.
Was this
I love this.
Teens, Randy?
I love this.
Farther back.
Now I'm just gonna sit back.
He knows I know everything.
Now I'm just gonna sit back and watch and enjoy this show. I wish I had popcorn.
So Damon had a Mustang.
Yeah, Saline Mustang.
A Saline Mustang and a system.
I remember the Saline.
You remember it? Yes.
Yeah.
And you were always musical.
Oh, yeah.
Always musical. Yeah. So you would be back from...
I was playing Milli Vanilli, if I remember a lot of Milli Vanilli.
There was Milli Vanilli. There was all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I think I was in 8th grade. It was 8th grade summer.
Wow.
And I have some stories, but you would always... I would want you to drive me around and go places. So you'd take me to Venice. You'd take a couple of my friends and I out. We would go eat at that railroad...
the
Carney's on Sunset.
Like chili dogs and chili burgers.
Chili burgers.
He'd be sleeping, and I would show up at his house. I'd get a ride. I'd get dropped off, and I would go in, and sometimes his mom would
Julia
be there.
would let you right in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Julia, the woman who helped raise him, was like a mother. She was about this big, white hair, powerful presence. Julia, right?
She used to make us grilled cheese
sandwiches.
Right.
Julia.
His room was one of the first ones I ever experienced that had air conditioning that was so cold. I was like, this is amazing because like my parents' house, we didn't have air conditioning. I was like, this is...
The Fresh Prince of
He's
Beverly
really
Hills.
on to something. And he kept it at like 68 degrees. Like he kept it frigid in there.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was life-changing. It was incredible.
That's so
Sorry,
funny.
go on.
Yeah.
So, you would be driving around and you would be bopping around and singing and making sounds and rapping. And this was sort of like around DOS effects. Times, right? We want effects. So DOS effects.
Yeah.
And then...
Fushnikins.
Stickity bum. I think about you every time. Sometimes I
did that. We were shooting a scene at the beach house, and I had a Walkman and headphones on.
Oh my God!
So I was just like kind of doing that on my own, and I had to go in and do ADR on it because they were like, we couldn't hear it, and I was like, you're not supposed to be able to hear it,
right?
And they were like, well, no, but you should ADR. So they were trying to figure out what words I was mouthing.
Last move, we ain't got.
And I knew exactly what song it was, and so I literally did it like syllable for syllable, and they were like, "That's amazing." And I was like, it's just a song.
Because we used to drive through Laurel Canyon. I don't know why I remember Laurel Canyon. You had that SC. Was the Lexus?
The Lexus. The gold one.
It was beautiful. That car was fast.
Champagne color.
Yes,
Lexus.
and we would bang Foosh niggas on our way to one of the clubs after. But go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Which is funny because I remember driving around with you even that same summer, or maybe it was no. It was 95, 96, and you introduced me to the Roots, and you had a Lexus, and you were and you and Trey from Farside, and you remember you had a Nakamichi sound system, and I was like, "It's a Nakamichi sound system. It's so cool."
Big deal. Oh yeah.
But I always remember, because I knew you, obviously, as a kid, right?
Literally.
But from teenager on, because I don't remember personality as much as a kid, and you were becoming who you were, but from a teenager on, you always had this charisma. You had this energy, this presence. Wow. And
I agree with that. You always had like a smile and a positive energy to be around.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah, and the
Hearing
music
that from you guys settles in a lot because, when it's a stranger saying that, it's like you're like, oh, thank you, and you just But I'm receiving that because you guys are family.
Yeah, good. I hope you receive that because you've always had that. But it was interesting to see just the influence of the music and the times, and you were dating, right? So I got to witness all that, and just the upbringing of being in the industry and all of that. But also, you've always had this positivity that you exude. And I know now the music, I mean, we got back in touch because I heard your music and I was like, dude, it hit me in the heart. Wow, that's amazing.
Frequencies, man,
But you've always had that. Where did that come from?
It came from very young age. Quincy was one of my mentors. And
Quincy Jones.
Yeah, and he is so powerful with his choice of notes and of rhythms to kind of give you a feeling. He's all about that positivity, man. Yeah, baby. And at a very young age, I'm a Bruce Lee fanatic, right? So all of his philosophies as I was learning martial arts through, my high school experience, because, I got sent off to military school for 4 years. And that's where I studied and trained and learned. And so I started infusing the energy, or the chi, as you would call it, into the music. And then I learned about frequencies, and which are very important. And we can jump right in. I had a major health scare, at 42 years old. I had a myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack. And it's the widowmaker. That's what they call it. The one where most people.
That's the one that usually
takes you out.
Done.
Right. And at that point, I was in the best shape of my life because I was maybe even 100 pounds lighter than I am now. I was shredded. I was doing this soul cycling like 4 times a day, and it was, but the insides don't reflect the outsides, right? And like what you were saying, I had this inflammation. I had also building up plaque in my arteries, and so a piece of plaque sheared off caused a blood clot to my main artery, but I was enduring a soul cycle class. 20 minutes into a 45-minute class, I just felt a little pinch, and I was just like, I just can't pedal as fast, whatever. I finished the class, so having a heart attack. Got off the bike, took a shower, and what's basically saved my life was I developed these other little arteries, because when you do extensive cardio, your heart struggles. Like athletes, it struggles so much that you develop more arteries. And so that saved my life. But I say that to say, 2-3 days later, I'm out of the hospital, and I was married at the time, and that was it. I changed my life. I was like, I can't be with you anymore. It's too stressful. That's causing, pain and suffering.
But wait, tell the story, because that is important. But you have to tell the part about getting to the hospital.
The way I got in. Well, so I literally, like I said, took a shower, got in the car, started feeling this chest, heaviness, and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. So my ex drove me to the hospital, which thank God was Cedars, right around the corner from Soul Cycle in Beverly Hills. So it was a 2-minute ride. I get out of the car, I run into the hospital, literally having a heart attack, and I looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, it was crazy. Like I was in probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. I had 8-pack, right? And so I walk up to the charge station, and the nurse is like, "Let me see your ID." And I was like, "No, I can't breathe." And she's like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll be with you." And then the doctor, who's my best friend right now, his name is Rico Simonini. He's one of the top cardiologists, right, in the world, probably. But he was walking out of the ER because he parked his car in the emergency room, being cheap. He's like one of the richest guys. But he was like, you save money parking in the ER, right? And he was doing a seminar that day, and he was walking through the ER, and he looked at me, and he said, "You're having myocardial infarction."
Wait, so he wasn't even scheduled to work that day? Literally, like he just happened to be there for something else.
He was walking through, and then he sat me down, and he started calling all this stuff. Stat. Next thing I know, I'm up on I think it was the 3rd floor or whatever, arms out, they're going in, and they did 2 stents in my heart. But then 2 days later, basically, as I'm lying in the hospital, a friend of mine who was one of my martial arts students from years ago came, and he was like, "Are you okay? Sifu?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'll be fine. I feel great, man. I feel brand new." And he brought me a book, and he brought me a couple books, and he brought me some and the books had information about frequencies. So I was like reading, nothing else to do in the hospital. You're going to watch Cheers or something on TV.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm reading. I was like, wow, 528, okay, grounding, 432, love. Interesting. And then he brought me another book about crystals and the power, and I just started believing. I was like, well, I need to heal myself. So I got out, went to the doctor, and he did what's called your ejection fraction. My ejection fraction, which is the way your heart pumps blood, it had dropped to, let's just say, like 100-year-old's level, right? Like where it's like I was on my way out because my heart was not pumping.
Wait, and this was early on, or this was after a few days of being in?
Well, when you have your heart attack, part of your heart, a very small part of my heart died, very small part, which thank God, which is like so small where it doesn't affect.
It's kind of what happens with a stroke,
right?
Tiny little piece of the brain.
Tiny piece dies. Also. So my ejection fraction dropped because my heart wasn't pumping at the normal rate. So the doctor was like, not Simonini, a different doctor, had said, you'll be lucky if you can walk, more than 10 feet, or upstairs is going to be an issue. You'll probably never ride a bike again. You probably won't.
Yeah. Was he putting a time frame on that, or was he saying like for the rest of your life?
Yeah,
like it's kind of
it's probably not going to get back to normal because of the way it happened and because it was so long that I went. They call it between heart attack to stent. Right. Normally it's 90 minutes. Right. I was like 2 hours. 3 hours almost. So he's like, it's a miracle you're still here. So, and I wasn't hearing. I was like, yeah, I'm. You don't know me. I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to be fine. He's like, yeah, okay, sure. And so then, long story short, I got really into. So I got into frequencies, right? And every day I'd start just doing these frequencies and listening and meditating, and then I went and bought all these crystals, and I just started. And praying a lot because I'm Jesus first all day long, And it's not witchcraft. It's like you're using the tools that God gave you, right? And so a few months later, I go back for they do what they call ultrasound, and they do this thing where they check your ejection fraction. And the doctor, Simonini, he literally his nurse was doing it. His nurse was doing it, and he turned like as white as your shirt. Right, and by now we're like friends. So he says to me, he's like, do it again to the nurse, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And it's uncomfortable. So I'm like, can you guys just kind of hurry up?
Right?
Like,
can you get through this?
This thing is cold.
It's cold.
My rib,
I'm uncomfortable,
right,
and yeah,
hitting this part of my chest.
Yeah.
So he goes, he checks the chart. He goes, do it again, and I'm like, okay, hold on. what's going on? He's like, oh, I'll tell you in a minute. And he literally is looking. So I'm thinking, oh no, like
something terrible.
This is bad. I'm thinking like he's not telling me, but maybe I'm having another heart attack. I'm freaking out. Yeah. So I'm trying to calm myself down, and he does it the third time or the fourth time, and he looks and he goes, I can't tell you this medically, legally, but you're like 100% or you're 98% healed. He goes, your ejection fraction, I think a normal is 64 to 67, or don't hold me to it, whatever, it's in the 60s.
Right.
And I was like 64, let's just say. And he goes, what are you doing? And I went, well, I'm doing, I'm not going to say I'm eating the healthiest, because I actually kind of rebelled a little bit, because I was the healthiest. But I said, I'm breathing, I'm meditating, I got out of a kind of relationship that
stressful.
Was oil and water, very stressful.
Yeah.
And I'm doing these frequencies, and I got my crystal. He goes, I want to try it. So he became like one of my, like, I won't say patients, but one of my students, yeah, of sound. And and now I speak with the American Heart Association about heart disease and heart health, and also about the holistic approach, medically still, because I still do take medication, and I will never stop, because I trust my doctor.
Just maintenance.
But but with that, I use if we'll say the God-given tools, right? And I think the part that I left out that we were talking about at breakfast when we connected was I got out of the hospital, and my life was so different. We drove back, and I had this beautiful place in Marina Del Rey, and I get out of the car, and there's horse manure, right? Like, it just smells like. Can we cuss here, or is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. No. Absolutely.
It smells like shit.
It smells like shit. Right. Because it is.
Because it is.
It is shit. Right.
It's literally shit.
Yeah.
So I get out of the car and I look up, and the trees were just like blowing, and it was so fucking beautiful, just blowing, the leaves and the trees. And then I go, oh my God, it was the best smell, literally, because I was alive. So my senses were working, right? And I look over, and she goes, and this is right after the doctor said, a different doctor who was like a yogi and very spiritual, had told her as we're leaving, whatever you do, don't stress him out, because his heart it's like a muscle, it has to heal.
It needs to heal. Yeah.
And it's like if you overtrain and you tear a muscle, you can't train anymore until it's healed. And so she says to me, she goes, like, to something like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you, what are you doing? Are you stupid? Something. And that's when I looked at her and I went, that's it. And when you're eerily calm, I'm sure we've been there before in relationships.
Yeah.
When you just know, and you're like it's like your whole world just goes, it stops right there. And you're like, there's not going to be any more Kodak moments here. Yeah. We're done. But all the memories are there, but we're done. And I said, that's exactly what's my words. I said, we're done.
Done.
And she looked at me, and I think she
saw. And she knew.
Done. It was like, it's like, there was no, I wanted to make sure there was no room for error. It's like, we are done. And that was it. And I changed my life. I moved to Hawaii. I started doing, island reggae music.
Did you really?
Yep, which I keep hitting this mic. I should know
it's
better.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you?
Right. Just turn it into something.
Right. Island reggae music, right? I actually moved to Hawaii to open a center for sound healing and for health healing. And got there and then met a gentleman who I just spoke to on the phone, ironically. He called me. I haven't talked to him in weeks. His name's Fiji. Mm-hmm. He's like the Bob Marley of island music, right? He's like the god of reggae. He called, and so I ran into him in Hawaii, got connected, and he became like my big brother. And immediately we had hit after hit, like 9 #1 records, Artist of the Year. Like, it was like, wow. And I was like, literally, when I was in Hawaii, everybody thought I was Polynesian or Fijian, or because I round face, I look like you don't know what I am, right? It's like so they thought I was the local brother, right? And so and they're talking pidgin to me, and I'm just trying to use my non-acting skills to play. And I think it just worked. And so I stayed over there, and it turned into this reggae star, and I named myself Nomad, which is Damon backwards. Mm-hmm. So it worked. And then
that's cool. That's a good name.
And then that worked for a few years. Then I came back to L.A., and my hopes has always been to spread the message and at least give people the tools for healing, whether you believe it or not. It's funny. A lot of people, because I wouldn't say I was a non-believer, but I was always like, I would hear, like I said, I'm a Bruce Lee fanatic. I'd hear his philosophies, and I go, yeah, be like water, okay.
Right, what does that mean?
And then I go through my day and be stiff as wood, right? Until something happened where it's like, oh, flow through this.
Right.
You can breathe through something. You can meditate. You can work through situations. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, for people that aren't religious in the same way, or don't have the belief in God or Jesus the way you do, it's still, you can still find healing, and you can still find peace within all of it.
I've been lucky, Brian. You probably know this about me because you know me very well. You're my other brother.
Yeah.
That I've traveled a lot, and thank God, having success, I've been able to as an artist and as a producer. Mm-hmm. But even before that, having a mom like I do, I grew up on the road, and so I was able to, let's just say, religious-wise, kind of experiment. Mm-hmm. I'll just use that word. Buddhism, and then I got into even a little bit of just pretty much everything. Even with the family, with Mister. Like I literally, I would come over and we do everything. I was at bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and and I'm literally
we'd have Hanukkah,
and
then Christmas,
and then Christmas, and so it was like I've always been able to say that it doesn't matter who it is you believe, as long as you believe, and even if it's in yourself,
right?
It's fine. It's just I found that the practice of belief is what we need to have. It doesn't matter, because we can sit here and argue all day. If it's Allah, if it's God, if it's whoever, but at least it's somebody or something.
Right.
And that is
believe in some power higher than your own.
I mean, look around. Something had to create this.
Right.
Something had, and if we believe in the soul, if we believe in the energy, whatever it is, it's definitely something. And when you're at the gates, truly, when you're lying there and you're like, all right, this could be it. That's when, for me, it was an experience of seeing certain things and just being so relaxed and so calm. But I knew I wasn't going to go. Then I knew that God, for me, was like, it's not your time yet. You're going to be sitting here spreading messages, and you're going to open a healing center, and you're going to continue this, because we all have our time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I had, when I was recovering, I remember, so I had come from, I was married, and that relationship was, we would have our ups and our downs as normal relationships do. Mm-hmm. The relationship that I had before that one was really tough emotionally for me. And I remember at the point when I was doing physical therapy, when I was a friend of mine, he has a gym, he trains people at his home and the whole thing. So I'd go there, and I'd go there 3 days a week. And I had to learn how to walk stairs, and it was I couldn't. And he had a basketball hoop, so he just had me, because I used to play one-on-one with him, and then all of a sudden I couldn't dribble a ball. I would just lose control. I had no sitting behind a drum set, which is what I grew up playing.
Right.
I couldn't hit drums with the. It was who am I?
Right.
I can't speak. I can't read.
Right.
I can't play
you
music.
Start to lose your identity of how you know yourself.
This is all my identity. Holy shit, what do I have left? But I remember working out with him, and he started saying to me, he was like, "It's really inspirational to see you working hard the way you are to recover." And I had this thing in my head of wouldn't everybody if you can't do stuff, wouldn't anyone want to learn how to walk and talk and do these things again? So I didn't connect with the inspirational side of it until he explained to me. He was like, yes, you're right. He said, but you know how many people like this is too much for them, and this is the end for them, and they just get too in their head. Like I've watched you keep a positive attitude and decide to like smile through it all and take every little win as a win. So I would get home at the end of the day and it was like, man, I walked faster today than I did yesterday.
That's right.
It was, but 4.5 years of that. God. But it really, that was the catalyst for me of going, okay, I want to start approaching life this way, not just in this healing, but like I want to start really finding the things that I cherish and love and what I can do to add to society and help people around me and be positive, because it felt so good. It was like, man, if it feels this good for someone that's just watching me recover, which is so difficult, then God, I can possibly share this experience with a bunch of people and really because I had nobody to share this experience with. I didn't know anyone that had gone through an experience like mine. I had nobody that I knew that had ever had a stroke, that had ever had any sort of neurologic. So I had nobody to sit with and go, in my one word every 30 seconds, say like, hey, what does it get better? Like how, I don't know what to expect or what is the normal recuperating time on this? I had no idea.
And now you speaking on it can help that whoever's watching.
So I've had a few people that I know that have had strokes and situations, and to be able to sit with them and go, I get it. Yeah. This sucks. Yeah. Like keep going into work, keep working at it. You are improving. And then I see them the next time and it's like, man, and just to kind of give them that positive reinforcement is amazing.
I hope everyone listening can hear that and take that away, that your circumstance and where you're at right now does not have to dictate what your future is. Right. And I understand there's a healthy amount of acceptance of what is, like being like water and flowing through it, but also to find the healing, find the positive, find the step. Because in both of your stories, and I would put myself in that category too, sitting here in this room and talking about positivity and healing and where we are at in life, all came from disturbances, all came from almost losing your life, almost losing my life because of substances, you not being able to speak and move and shuffle around.
Almost losing my life because of stress and and not being healthy.
Emotionally. Wild, almost losing your life because of life.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I tell people every day. I lead with breath and live, like literally, it's, and here's the other side of it too. I've watched so many people, not just in our business, but just in life. It's like they cut their life the day before the blessing, or they give up right when it's like, people always look at like what we do, and they're like, "Oh man, you had the most successful show, and at 18, 19, we were on top of the world, right?" So everybody's like, "Oh, it's easy," but they don't know those days, when it's like, "Are we canceled? Or what's going on tomorrow? How am I gonna balance this and that?" So that's what I say. It's like behind the curtain is literally once it gets pulled, then it's like, and it's funny because you guys now have this incredible show, which. As I say, we are getting older, right? Oldish.
Right.
But now we're the ones that I remember my mom sitting you down saying, "Hey, man, it's beautiful. You a handsome young little stud, but you're going to get older. And you're going to have kids."
Oh, yeah.
She had that talk with you.
She did.
She did.
Your mom. So his mom would have that talk with literally anybody. I remember hearing the story. She was one of the ones that went in when Snoop and Dre were like early recording, and she sat down with him and she was like,
at the house.
"This is not the way, to like move forward in life and do." And because it was her, they really took it to heart, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you know what? There's something to that." And
she told Snoop to his face, "One day you're gonna have a daughter."
Yeah.
And your daughter's gonna come and say, "Daddy, what does bitch mean? Why are you calling girls bitches?" And Snoop said, "Damn, like you told me, yeah, your mama, like." Because I was there when she checked Suge right in the face. She said, "Call me a bitch." And Suge was like,
"What?"
Right?
She did to Suge?
Oh, no. She's,
Mom was a
what?
Wow.
She said, "Call me
she's
a
gangster."
What did he say?
She's an OG. She's an original gangster. Like she trained Ice-T. Like she's been around for she's been doing it for a long time.
Absolutely, because she's been in the business.
She's fearless.
Mom came from Jersey. You know what I mean? East Orange, like the real hood. She's like, this ain't hood. You want to see hood? And I never knew hood. I grew up. It's funny. That's probably why it was easy to do the show, right? Because I actually lived in Beverly Hills, so I really was 90210.
Right.
You know, and so
more so than we were,
right?
Except for Tori.
Me and Tori.
Yeah,
you know,
but it was like,
Tori,
dude, I was asking him for advice. I was like, hey, so how do you?
Yeah, I used to teach Tori. I'm like, Tori, you're Bel Air. I'm Beverly Hills. You got a bigger house, but you're Bel Air. But I had a room in the house, so it was my house.
Right, totally.
Which is amazing when I think back. I just got to say this. My father.
My dad, by the way, for all those, you called him Mr.
Yeah.
So my dad, rest in peace to both of them, but my dad, my biological, passed away when I was very young.
Mm-hmm. How old were you? What age?
I think I must have been maybe 11 years old, 10 or 11. Yeah, because my brother was 14, so I was 10 years old. And I'll never forget it. We came back from the funeral, which was in Maryland, and I was just a mess. I didn't really know my dad because I grew up with Mr. kind of like as my dad, right? And but it really didn't become official. Like I might as well have gotten adoption papers. No joke. We were in the kitchen, and I remember the kitchen right off of Maplewood, and or Mapleton, right? And I'm sitting in the kitchen, and it was one of those moments where nobody was there. Randy was upstairs. Tori was in like the doll room or whatever. Like nobody was there. And Mr. came to me and he said, listen, he said, your real dad's gone. He said, he's passed on. He said, but I want you to know something. You will always have a father. And that hit me so hard where it was like, what? He goes, he said, I'm not trying to ever take the place of your father, but you will always have a dad. And he gave me a kiss right on the lips. And I'll never forget. It was one of those like dad-son moments. There was nothing weird about it. He had this, you remember his...
He always had the scruff.
Scruff, man. And I just remember, and it's weird talking about it because it was such a beautiful moment because the scruff and the smell of the cigar. I'm sorry, the pipe. And you don't even notice. I made Julia take me to the pipe store. And I wanted the tobacco because, as a kid, it's like, I want to smoke a pipe. Yeah. And then she's like, you can have it, but you can't smoke it. And I said, collect pipes because of him.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I love that smell. Not when it was lit.
Right,
when he would light it.
Right.
And then I'd be like, oh,
right, gotta go.
Much.
Yeah,
right.
But the smell of the tobacco.
Yeah.
I do too. Do you know that smell of the tobacco is what tells me that he's around?
Wow.
So a couple times a year, I will walk in my room or something, and it will smell so strongly of tobacco that I have no other thought other than,
hey, Dad.
Hi, Pops.
Hey, Dad.
Because it is the exact tobacco smell.
And the love he had, like we did every holiday together, literally. Halloween, Christmas, all the Jewish holidays, every holiday. I was invited. And when he built the new house, literally, I had a room next to Randy's, which was I shared with Nan or whatever, but it was my room whenever I wanted to come. He built the bowling, everything was for us, for the kids, and it just was so special because a lot of people when they lose their father, especially when you grow up with a celebrity mom who's always on the road, and I'm raised by her, but I'm also raised by a nanny, which we all were. Kind of raised by nannies. We had Nan, who was Margaret, and Julia, and our parents were there. But when you lose your father, it's as a boy, you need a father figure, and it was just amazing. And that's why I have words can't describe the love I have for both him and Tori. Like I told her, I saw her years ago, and I told you in passing in New York, and it was one of those things where it was the the craziness of the village in New York, and she's running somewhere, and I think she might have been with her husband at the time or whatever, and I didn't know him, so I was no disrespect, and there was never anything weird with me and Tori anyway, but it was like, we kind of just stopped for a minute. It was like time just went, and we flashed back to literally kids in the back of remember the Mercedes that we had the station wagon. You might have
I remember that. Yep.
It was a turbo diesel, and Julia would drive that car
with Luden's cough drops in the back,
so
right?
You do remember. Yep. Ludens.
You said that, and they flashed in my mind. I could see the Ludens, and I tried it once, and I was like, "Oh, I don't."
Because
which one is
menthol?
The menthol ones,
yes.
Not even like the honey lemon,
right,
the menthol, where you're like, "Ooh."
Because my mom, that's what she'd always have when she'd sing. So we might as well have been sponsored by Ludens. Yeah. Ludens. And so anyway, I say that to say like, this is really special for me because it's like a family reunion with the both of you. Like, the last time I saw you was during the pandemic. I called and reached out to you, and you did a birthday shout out for my mom.
Yeah.
And my mom don't cry ever.
So I never heard. I never heard from anyone. It was just like acknowledging what an amazing human being she always was.
And you told her from the cookie jar at Elm and from the grilled cheese sandwiches. And because when I showed it to her, I had everybody under the sun that I could find. I mean, you were in the ranks of a lot of very special people to her, right? Of course. But I positioned you like right in between like Clive Davis and like Quincy, like you were right in there because it was like that's how special you are to the family.
It's good company to be in.
But you know what I mean? And so when you popped up and she just went, oh, and it was one of those weird times because remember we couldn't like touch each other and talk and I'm talking to you through a Zoom or something. And I'm like, how are you, man? And it was weird. It was like, you know what I'm saying? And as I'm cutting it together, it was one of those moments where I was like, damn, I can't wait to like just be able to see him again. Like, if that ever will happen, because this is 2020 when this is going on, and I'm like, it was a weird time. Right. So this is real special to me, man. That's why it's an honor to be here and be oldish with you guys.
Oh,
yeah, I mean it.
It's an honor to have you. It is.
I'm so excited to be sitting here. Like this is it's really cool to see you two together.
Yeah.
To see you because we all have this amazing, elaborate past. Like we have all these ways that we each have our own relationships and stories, but then our stories intersect in so many really cool, beautiful ways. Yeah. And the fact that we are now all three here doing this,
like
I feel
talking
grateful.
about,
I actually have just a tremendous amount of gratitude,
right?
To be because we talk about past a lot of times, and there's memories, but there's something about us just sitting here. That is this weird, tangible, palpable energy of wow, we've made it to here and can talk about
Ain't that crazy?
The fun and the amazing memories and also the trials and the tribulations and the catalyst turning points.
Yeah. The trials and the tribulations are the things that brought us here.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we hadn't gone through those really difficult things we had gone through, we wouldn't be sitting here sharing this knowledge that we've gained and these, and this true love of like helping people.
Yeah.
Because you'd be just that, you'd still be in that selfish space.
Sure.
Right?
And what's beautiful about it is this is just so real because we can't bullshit each other.
No.
Right. You know how you can go on some shows and they don't really know you. Yeah. So, like, I'm not who I am in the bathroom. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's like we really know you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm flashing
I'm not as cool as I think I am once I'm sitting here. It's like,
we've been through some stuff, all of us. And, and it's just, I'm proud because to be here with you guys and be the eldest one in the room. I still got you. I got you beat. And
barely. Come on now. Barely.
But to be, but like to be the one who's like
respect your elders. God damn it, that's ridiculous.
Before you do Brian Austin Green.
AARP's been hitting me up for years now. Baby. Like, you're really missing out on some savings.
I get my senior discount first. Randall G got a long way to go.
I have a long way to go.
Raise, but
I'm going to catch up.
But you know what's crazy, too? I think I told you this. I freaked out, man, when I saw you when we were sitting there having breakfast because you look so much like Mr. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
you do.
Like my dad.
Dude, it's insane. Even you're like, I used to love his
Adam's apple.
Swallow. It just so profound. But you look so
Look how
much,
he said that. It was so profound.
It was.
It was
true,
big.
though.
He had
It
a
was.
gigantic
He had a huge
Adam's
Adam's
apple that was really pronounced.
But you know, that made him
he had
so powerful to me.
nostrils.
Because when he get mad and swallow, you just be like,
Oh my God.
oh,
that was a hell of a swallow.
You know, he was the nicest guy in the world.
true.
Hey, babe.
Yeah.
He called me all the time. Hey, babe, how you doing?
Yeah.
I just want to call you, tell you I love you, and then click. Hey, please hold on, hold on for Mr. We had the same exchange, remember?
Yep.
275.
People don't even know what an exchange is. That's like a.
Do you know what our number was? 275-9349 310. Yep, that's right.
Wait,
Wow.
and so what exactly was that? Because I don't know what an exchange
So
is.
it was a service. It was like one of the first services.
Like high end. You had your own operator.
You had an operator.
Service.
So like if you'd call.
So it was like a family operator service that he had just for like the people.
Yeah, it was
that
a
were...
company that like celebrities had, right? And I think Julia set it up with Nan or whatever it was, and so let's say I give you my home. This is back when people had home phones,
Right.
Rotary.
Right.
Totally.
So
I still have one of those.
Right.
I should probably get rid of those at some point.
No, keep it
In a phone booth.
Totally.
You want to have a funny Instagram or TikTok?
Yeah.
Have your kids figure out how to work that.
Right.
It's hilarious.
I actually just watched like an Instagram video
With somebody
yesterday
trying to work
of two
the-
kids trying to
Right.
figure it out,
So like,
and it was a
what?
challenge of like you have to figure out how to dial a number within 10 minutes.
Pushing the button. They're like,
Yeah, they were like, wait, so if I slide it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, I messed up. Okay,
Yeah.
how do I go back? It's like you don't.
Man, I had that
like,
day down.
you just hang. You
hang up.
open it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hang it
It's like,
back
you have to
up
wait.
and you start over. Yeah.
But so the exchange was, and then they'd answer the phone. So I give you my number. You say, hey man, give me a number. All right, 310-275-9349. So you go home, you call me, whatever. Back when people actually did that, and they'd answer the phone, exchange, and you say, hi, I'd like to speak with Randy, and they say, oh, who's calling? It's Damon. Please hold. And then they'd ring the house.
So there's a little bit of a barrier as opposed to just calling straight
the house.
through.
Right.
Yeah. And then Randy, but here's the best part. Randy could say, tell him I'm not home. Or take a
And
message.
they'd be like, oh, Randy's not around.
They said, Randy's not available. And I said, was he home? Sorry, sir, I can't give you that information. He's not available. Okay, tell him to call Damon. So it was like, it was back before answering machines. Like we had a live operator.
Yeah.
But
there's a cool factor to that, though.
Yeah.
That's
There's
awesome.
a cool factor to that. I remember having the message pads.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sometimes they were white or they'd be pink.
Yeah.
And it would say Damon called and the time. Someone would write it down with like old pens.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and be like,
pens.
okay.
With old pens.
Wasn't
Compared to the
typing a
new
message.
ones now. Yeah, totally.
It was the older pens. Like they had a different tip.
Yeah.
Right? It was something different that they don't have now.
I remember him riding in the car, and I had the first brick cell phone, and Randy was always so curious. What is that? You know, when I went to drive, because I was the chauffeur, because I had the license first. So I was like, I'll come pick you guys up, you know. And what was it? Justin? No, what's his name?
Jordan.
Oh my God, Jordan! Wow,
Jordan. Yep. Yeah.
Man. Wow.
So I had a fake cell phone like that in my Bronco too. I had a plastic one that you put batteries in.
Oh wow!
Wait, and then you'd push the button and it would ring. So, and I'd pull up next to people with
like,
my
"You're on the
phone, and it'd be like there'd be lights on and stuff. And I'd be like, "Hey, you should call me." Like I thought I was so awesome.
The actor.
I had a plastic one,
right.
and I had it like Velcroed inside my door. Like it was just a base with the curly
You
cord on
taught
it.
me something. Okay, here's something you're gonna bug out over this. So when I got a little more popular as a producer, right? Then I got a publicist, and I had to start doing these photo shoots. And so I was so uncomfortable on camera. And I remember I used to watch you all the time. And when you would take a picture, you would look down, and right before they'd snap, you'd look up at the camera. Remember, right?
Yeah. So I still do that.
So he taught me, because I would be nervous. I'd be like wanting to smile, and so I'd look down,
take a second,
and take a second, and then they count down. I said, count me down, 3, 2. And I got the best picture, so thank you for that, man.
That's the blue steel look.
I'll tell you,
Brian
right,
looks down
totally.
and then turns to camera.
It's crazy because he looked down.
Yeah, it was like that.
Nobody else ever did that.
It was like that 90210.
Because nobody else was as insecure as I was.
Is that what it was?
Total.
Really?
I still am like, it's better now finally, but total I would get so insecure whenever they would do photos.
You were so good on film, man. Like I was like,
so I felt totally comfortable and fine on a camera when it was like moving and I could just like be.
Oh, but stills.
Oh, yeah. When it was like, okay, we need, put your head down a little bit. I would just, I would internalize all of it.
Yeah.
It would just,
that's
fell
amazing.
apart.
I don't know why it's weird. See, I remember weird things, but it's like
we had so many of them though to do at that point. It was
at
kind of
point,
like
you just get
it was
used
like
to it,
I had to.
Yeah,
I literally had to. It was like it's like having an extreme fear of heights.
Yeah.
But then you work on a tower where you're literally, up 250 feet every single day.
Right.
It was like, shit, I've got to learn how to deal with my height issues.
I don't even understand why. Now I think back about it. I'm like, I spent so much time on that set, and it was like just hanging out with y'all, man.
Yeah.
It was like, and then I remember when Tori came on the show, and then it was like we go from the house to the set to the house. It was just a wild time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many memories. I'm curious about something.
Yeah.
Being in the music business for 30 years, you said?
Us, easily.
And working with, anyone from your mom now, right, to reggae, to, such a diverse mix of artists. Where do you see music going, and where would you love to see things go?
Music's going where it's gonna go. Music. I always tell people this. It's a circle. It's a cycle. It's like I'll give you an example. When we did Pink, we were listening. I was listening to, let's say, Blondie and Janis Joplin, and that was my influence. When I did my reggae stuff, Bob Marley obviously influences everybody. But so music goes in cycles. If you look at the like you said, Four Non-Blondes, Linda, when we did Pink's album, Pink wanted a hey, what's going on. She wanted a what's going on record, and I won't say she got that, but she got the influence from decades before or 10 years before or whatever it is. So music will continue to cycle, just like fashion. Look at the trends now, what our kids are wearing. I laugh at them. I said, damn, if I had just saved...
That's what I said all the time.
Just saved my FUBU and my damn shell toe shoes. And
I'd be way richer.
What? Elon, watch out, man. I'd be a bajillionaire. Like, I'd be able to live in those houses we talked about in Malibu.
Yeah.
The stuff I threw away. We joke about the cell phone. We joke about the old... Like, it's because that's what life is about. Like, our kids are now looking at us going... but if we put it on against, like, oh, Dad, what you doing, Dad? You ain't cool, Dad, But they want our closet, right? And that's where music is. So where I see it going is with technology, with AI and everything. I think there's a burn factor because there's, and I say this because being a producer, even when I got really into the computers, because I was one of the first people to beta test Pro Tools and all that stuff.
Were you?
With Destiny's Child and all that stuff, because I was the pop guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It got old after a minute because I still needed the real. I needed to pick up some sticks and play drums. I needed to play the piano, even though I'm not a great piano player, right? But I tinker. But I needed to play the instruments. So I think even with the new generation, it's like there's only so much sampling and so much using everything, which is beautiful. A lot of the loops are mine that these kids are using, and I love that. It's the highest form of
flattery,
right?
Yeah.
But it's something to be said, like when you sit down and you pull something out of thin air and you create something, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it's going. And I'm seeing it. I'm doing a lot of seminars and a lot of instructional, what do they call them? Tutorial. I don't even remember what they call it online, but where you give somebody an hour of your time.
Oh, okay, like a master class.
They give a master class, and but I always end it with, just whatever you do, whatever your tool is, just keep going, and it's going to evolve. We're not going to be that. You know this. We're not the same person we were 10 years ago.
Right.
Maybe not even 10 minutes ago. Life evolves, and as a creative force, we just got to flow with it.
Just flow with it.
Flow with it. So I say, we.
Look at that.
I say we thank you for being here. We thank everyone for listening and watching. I get
to keep this.
You
mug?
do. You get to keep the Oldish mug.
That's what's up.
So head on over to oldishpodcast.com. We have 3 different tiers for people to be able to be involved with what it is we're doing and watch it. We're now going to jump into our after the show.
Yeah.
So you'll know if you are a member of that tier, welcome. If you're not, you'll hear about this from someone, and then hopefully you'll wish that you were.
Join the membership.
So join us over there, oldishpodcast.com. See you there.
Hey, if you're going through something right now, if you need additional support, then please reach out to me at randyspelling.com/help or go to my Instagram at randyspelling.